Hey Manoj, do we have
Yeah.
voting option in this
Sorry,
voting
Prathap?
option? Voting option.
Yes, we can have. What do you want?
Yeah, I'm just checking because we can do that kind of dip test in the beginning to understand
Okay.
number of people who are like studying or just completed.
Yeah, sure. We can have that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So in between, I'll plan for a voting session.
sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll start now.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
Yeah.
have good number. Yeah, we
Yeah,
have
we have about
65%.
70, 65 here watching on Zoom, and about 15 people joined from YouTube also.
Perfect.
So we'll start. Okay. Good afternoon, all. I'm your host Manoj Kumar. I welcome you to today's session. Before we proceed further, a small announcement for you all. This session is now live on YouTube and Zoom. Okay, let me just start my video. Okay. So this session is live right now on Zoom and YouTube. If you have to invite your friends, please do invite. Please take a notepad and pen to make notes of the content that is relevant to you as for your career in CDM. We are in the digital age and we have our own challenges. We are connecting from different parts of India. Just in case we lose internet connection, please log in back using the same links in just 1 or 2 minutes. Keep all the questions ready for the speaker. You could ask the questions only through the link that I'll be sharing in few minutes during the session. So don't put in the chat box because we tend to miss out the questions in the chat box. So I'll be sharing a link through that you can ask the questions. That will help us to organize the questions in one place and keep answering as and when the speaker is completed the session. This speaker would be answering the questions only during the Q&A sessions. We shall try to answer most of the questions, but just in case we can't, given the paucity of time, we shall surely respond back to you at the earliest, and stay till the end to get most out of the session. Now, before we begin, let me introduce Prathap to you. Prathap is an experienced professional in Accenture's life sciences R&D practice based out in Bangalore. He comes with more than 16 years of experience in clinical research industry, and he has been managing operations and delivery in various clinical domains such as clinical data management, study build, medical coding, CTMS, and safety data management. He has managed end-to-end global projects and large customer accounts with an excellent track record of delivering mega-scale projects on time with high standards of quality. Prathap has done MPharm and he is a certified project management professional, PMP, and Six Sigma Belt, also Medidata certified study builder. He holds a US patent for Accenture in-house developed medical coding tool in 2019. Congratulations, Prathap. I was not even aware of this.
Thank you, Manoj.
Prathap has publication on his name in International Journal of Pharma and Biosciences, Biomed, and recently in SCDM Databasics. Prathap has been associated with leading industry forums such as Project Management Institute, SCDM, Indian Society of Clinical Research, DIA, and WHO Drug over the years. He has contributed as a program committee member, volunteer, and speaker. With this short intro, now I invite Prathap to take over the session. Prathap, over to you.
Thank you, Manoj. First of all, I believe everybody is doing well, safe in this pandemic time. That's the first thing we have to say. Yeah, so it's a great opportunity for me to be here and deliver what I know. So I'm going to discuss about clinical data management. It's perspectives, future perspectives, as well as career opportunities. So looking at the questions what we have received, I think most of the people who are attending here, maybe students or they are freshers. They have just completed their B.Pharm, M.Pharm, and Pharm D. Want to know more about this particular data management field. Okay, so that keeping in consideration, I'm not going to deep dive or not going to teach you what is clinical data management. Instead, I'm going to tell what is industry about, how you have to become ready for this industry, and how you have to get into this industry with the background what you are going to have. So that's a kind of perspective I'm going to connect with and share with you guys, so that it will help you. Either you are attending any interviews, or you want to learn more about clinical data management. So definitely these are the things which will help you. So I'm having the agenda here. This is what we are going to discuss in this session. I'm going to still, as I told you, I am not going to teach completely about what is about clinical data management, but still in the beginning, I will try to touch base in order to students who completely don't know about clinical data management, at least they can understand some amount of information. And of course, they have to understand how you have to get into these roles. In order to understand these things, I want to tell you about the data management in the first few slides. And I'm also going to tell about the past present of this particular clinical research field. So I'm also going to tell the standards which came in over a period of time, and different kinds of departments with where this particular clinical data management is been associated with, and integration and collaborations happening within the clinical data management, and transformation. This is one of the very important topic which I'm going to cover. What kind of changes happening in the present scenarios, and which you guys need to be aware, because you're all budding stars. And I'm also going to talk about the roles. I'm going to talk about the industry associations in the CDM. Lastly, we are also going to talk about the job prospects and few question and answers which I have chosen, which is interesting. And I believe while covering this entire content, many of you asked different kinds of questions. Some of them are basic, some of them are bit at the higher level. I'm sure I can answer those, and I think I can cover most of them in this particular session. Okay, so this is what we are going to do in next 40-50 minutes. Okay, I'm going to the next slide. Okay, as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about the data management. So Manoj, how to? Yeah. Okay. Is there a way, Manoj, to hide these icons? Okay. Otherwise, I will go with this view so that we can understand. Okay. The first thing is we are going to talk about what is clinical data management all about. Considering you might done little amount of research, or you may not aware of anything about the clinical data management. Probably this particular slide will help you understand what is clinical data management all about. So this is a core process in the clinical research. If you see my the first slide, I'm showing this is in the heart. The whole purpose why I'm showing the heart. This is a core process in the entire clinical research. And the data comes from various sources. Where it starts in the beginning of the clinical data management, of course, it is from the protocol. When the protocol for the clinical research is available, what the initial phase is, they build in case report forms. What is case report forms is nothing but the data to be captured at the clinical research site, and the forms will be filled in the clinical research site. So those forms are nothing but case report forms. So once the case report forms have been finalized, so looking at the protocol, they designed the case report forms. What kind of data need to be collected? What all the information need to be collected at different visits of clinical research? How the data need to be collected in different aspects of the clinical research? What is the inclusion criteria? What is an exclusion criteria? What is the demography of the person who is getting into the clinical research? So these are the, I'm telling about very high level, very simple ones, which are collected in the case report forms. So once the case report forms are being finalized, so what happens, that will be given to our software programmers, we also called as study builders. What the study builder does is he has a database. He designs the database based on the case report form. He reads through different contents, different pages of case report form, and he builds the database accordingly so that that particular database can hold the required information. And then validation happens. What is validation? It's nothing but building the logics within that particular screen where data is going to be captured. Example, if there is an 8-digit number need to be entered, if you're entering the 9-digit number, you will get a pop-up. No, you have to enter only 8-digit number. I'm giving a simple example so everybody can understand. That kind of logics, if somebody is selecting the age below 18 years, which is the minimum amount, minimum age to enter into the clinical research. So the database says that, no, you cannot enter into this clinical research because your age is less than 80 years. So that kind of logics, just telling very, very primitive or high level things. So once the data validation happens, so there will be like, fifth example, like minimum of 8-10 visits. And I would say like at least of 40-50 pages of for each subject, there will be at least 40-50 screens need to be filled when it is coming to the end of the study. So you're starting from demography till the end of the study. If the subject continues, he or she will go through at least 50 different forms to be filled. So all those forms will be built with some kind of software where it helps us to type in, load in the data, and that particular database will tell whether the data has been loading in is right or wrong. So that is nothing but database validation. So once this has been ready, then data collection happens, and we through the data entry. And then the data management, that is nothing but discrepancy management, so starts. So what does that mean is we have a protocol, we have a guidelines, how the data need to be collected. And we start verifying the data, what is been coming into the system. That is nothing but verifying or validation of the data against the guidelines. If something is not clean, not clear, what we do is we send a query back to the site. That is nothing but if somebody has done a research on clinical data management, that's nothing but a query management. We send it to site, we send it to investigator, we send the query for CRA in order to understand what is the data has been given is right and why it has been entered in a different fashion. So we clean data. So that's called as data cleaning. Once the data has been entered in a proper format in a required way, we validate and we clean the data. Once the data has been cleaned and we have a set milestones, example, there will be a milestone to submit the data over a period of time, like there should be a cutoff after 3 months and we have to submit that 3 months data to regulatory authorities. After a year, there will be a cutoff. Once again, we have to submit the data, what has been collected for the regulatory authorities. At the end of the clinical research, we lock the database. What does it mean? We are closing that particular clinical research. It may be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, okay? And that data is been locked now. There will be no more changes, and that will be ready for statistical analysis and report writing. Okay. So statistical analysis is the place where you understand whether the data has been collected or the clinical research which has been happening is in the right direction, whether we are able to meet the endpoint. For example, if it's a respiratory study, if that particular drug is been tested for asthma, so statistical analysis is the place where you get the answer whether that particular drug is working or not. We compare against the standard, we have a placebo. So all different kinds of variations will be implemented so that we can compare and analyze how the study drug is working. So finally, it comes to the report writing and a submission for different authorities, like if it's in US, if it will be FDA, it will in EU, it will be MHRA. So different countries will have different regulatory bodies where we need to submit the data in a format required. So that happens as a next phase. So this is a complete overview where the clinical data management stands in entire clinical research. So I believe this short introduction will be helpful for you to understand the next set of slides. So the next set of slides.
Prathap, sorry, could you make it full screen?
Yeah, but what happens is if I'm making full screen.
Yeah, it looks perfect.
Yeah, but you can still read the introduction and all those things.
Yes, all perfect.
Okay, good. Because I can't read that particular.
Okay. I mean, okay. It looks perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
Good. So yeah, now you understood the basics of what is clinical data management at very high level. Okay. Now let us see present industry challenges. You don't need to worry much about this because I will come back to this slide later point of time, and definitely you will once we go through this entire presentation, you can understand the challenges much. So yeah, today's challenges is nothing but limited collaborations. There are so many places where data is being collected. There is a lab data collected at site, data collected by the patients itself. So there is multiple places like data collecting from the ECG systems. So there are many places where data has been collected, and we have a lot of limitations in collaboration. So they don't speak each other. We have to manually converge them in order to speak each other. So that's one place, limited collaboration and lack of full data integration capability. So yeah, this is one of the challenge. I think most of these challenges are presently been addressed in different way. And we have a small video to help you to understand those things in the later slides. And other thing was lack of standards. I think lack of standards, like 90% of the issue has been almost like resolved because the industry has come to that level of keeping up the standards now. I will discuss about that. Difficulty to identify the data trends. So when you don't have an integration, if you don't have a collaboration, if you don't have a standard, it is quite obvious that you cannot identify the data trends, what is that data trends, whether your clinical research is going in the right direction, whether the study drug is giving the right amount of efficacy. So you cannot understand at the early point of time. You have to wait till everything happens, and then you have to do the analysis, then you will get a trend. So by the time you would have spent a lot of money and a lot of the money as well as effort is gone, right? Okay, let me take the pointer. Yeah. So with all these things, definitely it is going to impact money and it is going to impact the timelines. So these are the present industry challenges. Let us see how our industry is addressing these things in the next slides. Okay, Before going to the present scenario or the future scenario, I would like to first tell how we have came to this level at this point of time. Like, how was the past clinical research was happening? This was very much relevant for me because when I started my career 16 years back, this was the situation where the data collection in the site was taking at least 1 to 3 weeks, and the time required to get into the system was around 3 to 13 weeks. That is, by the end of like 10 or 12 weeks, we would validate the data. Means the time when the collection of the data versus the validation of the data, it used to take 10 weeks. You can understand the lag there. What was the impact? A lot of impact, because it is having a very difficulty. It's got a difficulty in meeting the regulatory compliance. As I told you, at certain intervals, we have to submit the data to regulatory authorities. If you are not providing the data in the right time, of course, you are not meeting that milestone. It has got its own implications. So difficulty in meeting the regulatory compliance, more difficult to prevent and detect the errors. Yeah, at right point of time, we cannot act because it's a lag of 10 weeks. It's like you are communicating with an with an object in Mars sitting in Earth, right? So it takes its own time in order to react there. That's what the situation 2 decades back, I would say. Restricting reporting options, lack of data security, multi-user and multi-role simultaneous data entry not possible, limited to only data entry capabilities. So at that point of time, I would say like 2 decades back, I think in early 2000s, there was a lot of data entry requirements for the clinical research in order to make this lag covered. So we were having a huge team of data entry team, and they used to do the double data entry. It was not single data entry. It was a double data entry. Like one person will do the data entry and the other person will not able to see what the first data entry has been done, and second person will do it in a blinded way. And if there is a 100% match between the first data entry and second data entry, and then only the actual data will get reflected in the database. Otherwise, it throws an error for a data entry personnel to do the data correction. So that was a laborious process and very, very tiresome. And also, if there were any queries at that point of time. So very importantly, if there was any query, if you are not getting the data in a right way from the site or from the investigator, we used to fax them. We used to send a fax, and that fax used to be received by the hospital authority, and that needs to be given for the clinical research site. And they need to read through and understand the query and need to fax it back. And that itself, like another 1.5 weeks of, or you can take 2 weeks of lag for any single query to be resolved. So it was a big challenge for us because many of the queries, even though at the time of database lock, were not resolved because there might be possibility the fax is lost. Somebody has lost the fax. It has been not reached the site. We used to call the site personnel to understand what is happening, why it is happening. So laborious it was. Just imagine if there are 200 sites and 2,000 people, and if we are doing a paper-based study, how difficult it was. So this was our past. Let us see how the change happened. So the change started happening from 2007, 2006, 2007 onwards. So we call it as electronic data capture system, EDC systems started coming in. So the earlier one for the was the Inform. The another one was the Medidata RAM. These are the two EDC systems which came in the early time of in the early phase of the electronic data capture systems existence. So what they brought into picture, they have brought many things into streamline. One, you don't need to do the data entry. the data entry will be done by the site itself. The site coordinator or clinical research associate in the site, they themselves will enter the data, which is more accurate, which is more understandable compared to the data entry personnel. So many queries which were coming out because of this communication gap was resolved. And very importantly, the data was available like in a day 1, day 2, day 3, the data is available. The moment the data has been submitted at the site, you have the data ready for validating it. That's the beauty of electronic data capture systems. So, and we really enjoyed at that point of time, because we went through the pain of paper-based studies, and the amount of time it used to take, and versus the simplicity which has been brought in by EDC systems. So not only this particular the lag has been reduced, there were many things which were taken care. 40% reduction in the database log. What is the meaning of that? Like if a study was conducted earlier with the paper-based system, if it was taking 1 year to complete that particular research, now it can be done in just like 7 months, 6 or 7 months. And more than 80% of the queries has been reduced, because now the data has been entered by the clinicians, by the coordinators, by the site personnel. So if they have a clarification, then and there they clarify and they enter the clean data. And this has reduced more than 80% of queries. So you can understand how much efficiencies has been brought by this EDC system. So this all started in 2007. So again, the cost wise, more than 30% savings. Of course, data entry, we saw the data entry persons been upskilled for the data management, and that got the savings, the big savings of more than 30% in the clinical research. And this is very important, guys, the cost implication on the clinical research, because at the end, the entire cost will be dumped on the molecule and the medicine. At the end, the people who take that medicine should bear this cost, right? And you can see there in the bottom, I have given a note there, more than 60 million savings per drug by using EDC systems. That's a huge, and this money can be reused for other R&D services by the pharma companies. At the same point of time, you are getting the drug at the lower cost. So this was the beauty of the EDC systems, which came in starting 2007. The major one was INTIENT. INTIENT is one of the EDC system. Another one was Medidata, right? And with great quality, cost, and speed efficiencies coming out. Okay, let us see. Now you understood what was the past of data management, how data collection was happening before, and how the data collection has got changed tremendously in the last decade, right? Let us also see how the data standards played a pivotal role. This particular screen, if you're saying, there is a requirement from the regulatory agency here. They want to identify manipulation versus different data sets which has been arrived. What does it mean? They have a demography data, they have a medical history data, they have a laboratory data, they have adverse event data, and they have a medication data. They want to combine everything, and they want to see how if there is any manipulation or there is an effectiveness of the medication is coming out. So all they have to review, but there is no standards maintained in collection of all these things. Each one of them is working like a silo, like this. That's the reason I bought this picture here. You just imagine if the data is coming in different format, and you have to build an adapter for each one of them, how tiresome for you. So that's the same thing was happening almost like a decade before. There was lack of data standards because of, even though the data is being collected by electronic data capture system, EDC system, If those systems don't have a standards within them, it is very difficult for us to map those and get the report out. It's as simple as this, like if you have an Aadhaar number, so you can use the Aadhaar number for multiple purposes. That's a standard. The moment you give the Aadhaar number, it identifies you, and it gives the DOB. It will give the address. You have all basic details over there. You don't need to give for 3 different documents. You don't need to give the birth certificate. You don't need to give the address. So you have one Aadhaar, you have all details. So that's a standard. So that kind of standard was not there in the clinical research and a decade before. What happened? Our CDISC was one of the non-profit organization. They started working on this because they understood the number of molecules are getting researched are increasing day by day. Without having the data standards, it was very difficult for the industry, that is regulatory agencies, to understand what the data coming in. Example, you consider an asthma drug has been, let us take, and Merck is working on asthma drug, and Novartis is also working on asthma drug, and Cipla is also working on asthma drug. Let us take 3 examples. But they are reporting in different standards. The regulatory agencies cannot compare how the Cipla's drug versus Novartis drug versus Merck drug, right? Because each one of them is coming in the different standards, their own standards. So that is where the industry started looking in to build the standards. That is where the CDISC, the non-profit organization, came into picture. They started building the standards, and they started giving it to the different organization, pharma companies, to build the standards and apply the standards. And because of which you have a data standard at every level now. Now this particular phase was between like 2009 to 2014-15. There was a huge push in the industry to make the data collection and submission, everything should be in a standard format. And of course, it has been streamlined. And now everybody is submitting in a standard way of because otherwise our regulatory bodies are not even looking at that data. So where and all that standards are applied, this is what our slide is going to show you. At the protocol design stage and the study design stage, we have a standards now. At the data collection side, we have a standards now. At the data tabulation side, we have a standards now. Analysis side, we have a standards now, and submission side, we have a standard. So this is an entire structure of CDM, and the entire structure of CDM is being standardized using the CDISC standards. So CDISC, as I told you, it's a non-profit organization helped to bring the standards within the clinical research. So this has been applied starting 2015, and from there, I think every study which has been done has been following these standards. Okay, so just one thing: lack of globally accepted pharmaceutical data formats believed to cost pharmaceutical industry in excess of $156 million per annum. So this is an outcome of building the standards. This is the amount of savings our pharmaceutical companies started getting once the standards came into picture. Okay, so the value proposition, time and cost reduction, data quality is improved, data integration got improved, and there is an easy data exchange between different tools, partners, and it was easy to communicate between the teams and facilitate the regulatory review and audit. So the impact of standards was everywhere. Okay. So now you learned how the data collection happened, what was past, what was present. You understood what was the impact of not having standards in data collection versus how the industry responded and got into the standards, right? So let us also see which all the different departments where data management is working with or associated with. So you can see each department here: clinical operation, clinical programming, safety data management, biostatistics, study build, regulatory submission, CTMS system, clinical trial monitoring systems. These are the different departments in clinical research, and the core is clinical data management. Why? You have to connect with each one of them in order to get the right data sets out. I've given intentionally different design for each one, different shapes for each one. The whole purpose is, if even though if you have a standards, even though you have an EDC system, if they are not speaking each other, if they are not integrated, so again, there is a lot of problem in order to get the right data out at right point of time, right? That's the whole purpose. I'm showing how the industry will look without integration. So what happens if you have such kind of silos in the industry, and how the even work? Of course, there will be a lot of challenges. You can see in a simple example, if there is a question from the clinician, it comes to data manager. He has to reach out site monitors, and you have to reach out send the data clarification forms to different departments. So it will run through entire cycle. Then you have to respond back for the clinician or regulatory authorities or statistician. This is what going to happen if you have no integration between the system. Let us see how our industry is responding. So this is what our industry is responding. You all now aware, you are all millennials, you all know now very jazzy word, cloud-based technology, right? Platform-based. So what they are doing, they are building all this system in one platform. What is the importance of this? So all these systems will start speaking each other. Okay, so if they start speaking each other, you will get the real time analysis of data. Example, something is going wrong with some particular site. Yeah, why it is going wrong? You have a real time data. You don't need to wait till statistician giving that data, right? And till the regulatory authority questioning you. You don't need to wait till then. You have an integration between the systems. Okay, you have an integration with EDC, you have an integration with site systems, you have an integration with IVR, interactive voice response. You have an integration with clinical trial monitoring system, medical imaging system, medical coding system. So this is what our industry is doing. And many of the technologies, like I hope you all aware of Medidata. Medidata is one of the technology company. They have integrated most of the data management systems. And even Viva is one of the technology company. They are also doing fantastic with consolidating all different systems into one place. One place. Yeah. May I request everyone to go on mute, please? Okay. Thank you. So we understood how even though there are standards, there is a good EDC system, how difficult if they are not being integrated, and how our present industry has responded and consolidating in one place so that you will get the real-time analysis, significant cost and time reduction, and improvised collaboration between the teams, right? So I hope you understand that. Now the question arises, maybe this is $1 million question everybody asks themselves and everyone. We have so much of technology coming out. What is the impact on the work, what we do? What is the future? How does it work? Yeah, I think this particular slide will help you to understand. I hope the word artificial intelligence, machine learning, macros, this is a kind of terminology been used, heard everywhere in present day industries. And many of the people, including me in the beginning, I was thinking, it is not going to impact the clinical research industry or medicine industry, because this is more regulatory. There is more challenges compared to any kind of industry. Example, if you take a banking industry, it is much easier to do automation and technology improvements compared to our EDC system. This is what my myth. Of course, now that myth is gone, because there are a lot of technologies, improvements and developments happening, which has been enabled by artificial intelligence and machine learning, and making the role of data manager role rather just be transactional into a data scientist. What does it mean? So what happened? I'll tell you. So there was a data entry activity which has been eliminated, as I told you. Data reconciliation, I think most of this has been eliminated. More data reconciliation because of emergence of EDC system, this was taken care. Query management, of course, a lot of query management was also being eliminated. And database testing and medical coding is also getting eliminated slowly because of the implementation of different softwares. Now, the main impact was like in a medical coding, the artificial intelligence coming into picture, it able to recognize the medical terminologies within the paragraph, and it can easily find out and classify the adverse events, which has been one of the things done in the medical coding that is been taken by artificial intelligence. So these all activities were more transactional in industry, and of course, still in many of the organizations, they do these activities, of course, in a better way, not as bad as like 5 years before or 10 years before. So I was mentioning, what will be the role of data manager then? If these all things are taken away by technology, what will be the role of data manager? Yeah, data manager now will become data scientist. His level has been improved with all these technologies coming in, and he will be helping the fraud detection, signal detection, and safety and efficacy monitoring. What is signal detection means? You are testing some drug, it is giving some kind of different results rather than expected, which can be used for example, an aspirin was initially thought of giving an analgesic effect. Later on, it was identified like it was having a platelet, it can avoid the platelet aggregation. So it can be given for the heart patient. So the signal was detected over a period of time after using aspirin, right? So that is called a signal detection. So data manager will look into the data and you will understand any other different kind of uses of that medicine can be done. Yeah, so that's a role will be the data manager going through now. And safety and efficacy monitoring, I mean, as I mentioned, so data manager is a person who will be having a constant eye on what's happening on the data, how the data is coming in, how the efficiency of the data has been happening, whether we are meeting the regulatory milestone, whether we are meeting the endpoints properly, whether the efficacy is in the lines of requirement. So data manager is one who monitors and provides the data for the organization. Let us see what he can do. So you all heard about analytics, another term. Yeah, when the data manager is been given the power of analytics, he can do not just the data management as a discrepancy management. Instead, he can become the data scientist, as I told you before. Example, you can see here. If there is a site which has been reporting the visits in the weekends, in the holidays, and meetings are scheduled too perfectly. So what does it mean? There can be some fraud happening there, right? So it cannot be, the visits cannot happen in the weekends. The visits will not be perfect. So this kind of analysis will be coming out from the, this kind of analysis will be done by the data manager with using the different analytics tool. You can see here another example, the dose. You can see the you can see 100% dose compliance. What does it mean? Every subject has been taking the dose at the right point of time and right time, and that's called as 100% compliance, which is not an usual indication. So that's an unusual thing. So how does this get detected? Using different analytics system, and who will be doing this analysis? Again, the data manager, right? So what I'm trying to say is, now the role of data manager is going to be more of an analysis rather just doing the transactional kind of work. Okay, with the help of different analytics, with the help of different automations, artificial intelligence, machine learning coming into picture. Okay. So I like to play one video that will give you an information about how the present technology is helping and getting out the right data at right point of time, instead of which is again the integration between different systems what we have. So this particular video is going to talk about that. Let me do it quickly. I will unshare again. Okay.
Drug discovery can take more than a decade to come to fruition, costing billions of dollars, and with failures in excess of 90%. As we generate more and more data, our understanding of human disease biology continues to increase. Researchers are continuously looking for new ways to apply technology to leverage this data in order to improve the odds of discovering new drugs that can help patients, helping patients sooner and faster. Accenture and Merck are working together to make drug discovery more efficient and innovative, with more possibilities than ever.
Research is driven by the scientific method. You formulate a hypothesis based on currently available data, run an experiment, collect new data, analyze that data, synthesize it, and start over again. Our ability to cycle data through the discovery process is absolutely critical. Accenture's INTIENT research platform separates data from the applications that create and manage it, allowing that data to flow more freely around the scientific method and also allowing us to substitute new components as they become available. Encouraging more innovation and bringing in these new players accelerates the generation of new ideas. The INTIENT platform provides better ways to analyze data, shape, formulate, and curate new scientific hypotheses.
To be truly data-driven, you have to have the digital infrastructure and environment that supports the activities that researchers are doing as part of discovering new medicines to help patients. And that's to bring all their data together, make it easier to find their data, make it easier to collaborate, both with internal researchers as well as external researchers. And share data seamlessly across that entire domain, that entire ecosystem that they're working within. Some of the biggest challenges that researchers face are, quite simply, where's my data? How do I find it? Where is it? How can I integrate it with other data sets?
Accenture's research platform encourages collaboration between pharma and biotech companies. Reducing initial technology investment and development risks opens up more solutions.
By integrating data across workflows that can span internal processes as well as processes with external partners, INTIENT encourages collaboration by making sure everybody has access to the right data that they need to do their jobs effectively. And that allows researchers, both internal or external to an organization, to focus on the science itself and not worrying about where's the data that I need to support the experiment that I'm working on.
The digital environment gives access to new technology providers while also working with users' current systems. We want to improve efficiency and effectiveness in drug discovery, and the platform does that. It brings together data, content, and services from pharma companies, allowing researchers greater access to share information for analysis and actual research. It provides the right data for the right use at the right time for the right duration to allow scientists to focus on actual research and not the integration of an IT environment, enabling a marketplace that lowers barrier to entry and exit.
Today, we're in an era of unprecedented discovery that can help drive innovation in the pharmaceutical industry. The platform capability and leveraging platform paradigm can help pharma companies leverage efficiencies, flexibility, modern user experiences like they never could before at a much lower cost of ownership.
Okay, that's the one of the innovation what Accenture is doing, and of course many other technology companies are also doing. What they're doing, they are trying to integrate different platforms into one system so that you have and right data at right point of time. As in the video, the research the professional was mentioning that you don't need to worry about what is happening in the system. Rather, you concentrate on the actual research. So if the IT systems are now they're seamlessly integrated, you will get the right data at right point of time. So very, very good example for this is our COVID vaccines. How much time was taken for the COVID vaccines to be developed? It's an year, or maybe a little more than a year. You all know the amount of time taken for clinical research, right? It is like almost 14 years. It was like a standard time for us to bring a new molecule. But now with all these kind of technology improvements and with the improvements in the clinical data standards, with different EDC systems coming into picture, and because of which we are able to bring the new medicines and the requirements in a very quick fashion, rather waiting for years and years, because you can overlap different phases. You can get the approvals showing the initial phases results. You don't need to work between the departments to get the data out, right? So these are the things been happening now, and where our technologies have been helping out, coming out with the new molecules. I believe this was an interesting one. So next is the different phase, and I believe the entire now I explained the entire ecosystem of clinical data management. How does it work? And if I go back to my original slide, I think this should be simple for you now to understand the industry challenges: limited collaboration, data integration, lack of standards, identify data trends. I believe I have addressed it. Okay. Let us go to the second phase of this presentation. Very important for you because considering the experience and what you are expecting from this particular presentation. Yeah, this is a second phase where we are going to discuss about which is going to cover most of your questions, what you have asked. So roles in CDM. Very good. So different kind of roles we have. Data manager, the core of the entire system. He's the person who is looking how the data has been collected. He monitors the data and analyzes the data. And this is one of the profile where most of our pharma professionals in the present day practice have been doing with data management. I would say in India, at least there are like 15,000 data manager professionals we have at this point of time. It's a huge number if you consider, and last 10 years, I think this growth has been happened exponentially. So when I started my career, it was like maximum of 1,000, maybe like 3,000 or 4,000, including entire India. It was like 4,000 people as a data man. Now it is 15,000, more than 15,000 professionals are working in this, or maybe even 20,000. Maybe it's not in, yeah, it's in the boundary. Yeah. And database programmer or designer. This is again, if you ask me, little technical kind of role, but I have seen the people coming from the pharma background can able to do this because they have a better understanding of the drug and protocol. They can design the database, and of course, this requires a bit of technical kind of skill as well. But now with emergence of different technologies, you don't need any coding experience. I mean, software coding experience. It will be a simple logical connects which you have to do in the database. So still can be doable by our pharma people. Medical coders, yeah, of course, I started my career as a medical coder in times. So yeah, this is one closely associated with the pharma folks because we review the adverse events there, medications there, and we understand the pattern of adverse event. Example, I will just tell you an example where pharma person can do something better than someone else, right? If it's an asthma study, if it's an adverse event has been reported as diabetes, it's and nearly it's like an something error has been happened. We can easily pick it up, right? So pharma professional can understand what this protocol means, how this protocol has been going through, how the clinical research is going through, and he can understand what kind of adverse events has been reported, whether it's been expected kind of adverse event or this is something a vague or error kind of thing. So he can just see, and you can, by his experience, can understand and query back to the site. So that is where the reason I was mentioning, this is a place where the very close to pharma people, but number of jobs associated with medical coding compared to data manager is minimum. It will be like in an organization, they have like a maximum of 30, 40 people as medical coders. If I take 10 organization, maybe 500 medical coders max. So limited job opportunities, but still it's one of the role where pharma professional can play. Clinical data coordinator, yeah. Clinical data coordinator is a person who coordinates. We also say that these are the people who will be helping CRAs to fill the case report forms in a way needed, and they will be coordinating with the sites. This is also one of the role pharma professionals can do. And quality control associate, yeah, quality control associate personnel. I would say if somebody need to be part of quality control, they have to have enough experience of how the things are going on in the data management. So with my experience, what I've seen, the people who has grown as a data manager and then changing their career into quality control, they are in a better quality personnel rather somebody into the quality from the beginning. What I mean to say is, if somebody is interested in quality control kind of role, start a career with the data manager or any other kind of roles, what I mentioned before. And then at certain point of time, you can move into this particular department. So you can do better compared to directly start your profession in quality control. Statistician and software developer. The reason why I brought in here, these are the two different roles. Of course, pharma professionals, it will be little distant because statistician, where the core job will be the statistics kind of role, and software developers, yeah, we are not into it. So, but they have to deal with this biostatisticians and software developers almost every day in the role of data manager. So these are the different kinds of roles what we see in data management practice. And so there are many other roles like clinical trial management system is also a part of clinical data management, where you work closely with the sites with respect to budgets and payments for the investigators. All those come into picture. Again, you should have a proper pharma knowledge in order to deal with that kind of roles as well. Because if you want to understand the budget, you should understand what is that particular requirement for that particular site. Example, if there is an asthma and somebody is saying CT scan, which is irrelevant, right? So that's the reason where the pharma professional can do better even in those kind of roles. So this is a slide which speaks about different associations of, like we mentioned about the standards, right? We told about CDISC, right? So CDISC is a non-profit organization, as I was mentioning. We have SCDM, Society of Clinical Data Management, also a non-profit organization. So they are the one who has built the GCDMP, a Good Clinical Data Management Practice Guidelines, which is a Bible for data managers. And they also conduct the trainings, they also conduct the education, they give the certification for the data managers. And this is one place our pharma professionals can look into it and understand more about data management. And they also have an association of clinical data management running from 3 decades. The organization uses training resources and professional development for those who are associated in the CDM phases in pharma, biotech, and academics. So I will also giving you an information here. If you are interested in clinical data management, how should you make yourself ready for if you have completed your B-Pharm, D-Pharm, or PharmD? So how you have to get ready, how you have to understand what is the current trend happening. One good thing is we have a number of conferences happening in India. Of course, now it's a pandemic time. From past 1.5 years, we don't see that, but still virtual conferences have been happening. But this phase, once this phase is lost, please attend these conferences, SCDM, DIA, PHUs, and ISCR. So these are the conferences. It will give you a light, not just clinical data management. It also give you an insights of what is happening in the industry, which is more important for you guys to understand. And SCDM especially, they will conduct even the workshops in the beginning of their session. So example, it may be a workshop on project management. There may be a workshop on analytics. So something which is relevant for the students, the beginners in the clinical data management. So that particular conference will be a very good one for the people who are having less experience to attend. And of course, every other conference will also give you a huge amount of knowledge which you want to gain in CDM space. So these are the links in the LinkedIn you can follow and understand. So you have a CDM again, ACDM again, and there are clinical data management links available. So LinkedIn groups play a very important role to gain your knowledge. This is an era of social media, right? And use of social media in a wise way definitely make you a good professional. And there are so many groups, some of them may be closed groups, some of them are open groups. You can question them, ask them for guidance. And of course, these are the places where you also see the alerts on different hiring and all those things. So these are some things which you can follow. You will get a lot of information there with respect to clinical data management. Okay, job prospects in CDM. Yeah, one of the things which I want to tell you is I've gone through the questions asked, which is good. PV is good, CDM is good. Yeah, I would say every job, it has got its future. Example, if you're starting with a data manager, you can become a data scientist, an individual contributor, where we can see in US and UK, the data managers like 20 years, 25 years of experience. The amount of knowledge they have, it's another encyclopedia. You can't imagine those people, how the knowledge they have. So what I mean is, so every job has got its future when you master it. Whether it is PV or CDM or biostatistics or anything for that case, you have to master it. So and somebody asking if I can see the growth in a year or two. Don't expect the growth in 1 or 2. First, you have to become the master of that particular domain. Example, minimum of 4 to 5 years, you have to spend, understand every aspect of that particular domain, whether it is pharmacovigilance or whether it is clinical operations, that is the clinical side, or clinical data management or medical writing, whatever the profession you choose. Yeah, they're all good ones, but you have to master it. Until unless you are mastering it, you don't get the value in the industry. So to master it, you have to put the efforts. You have to really looking all the sides, along with just doing the day-to-day job. You have to learn many other things, like using our LinkedIn groups, using our conferences. You have to make yourself ready for the next levels. So then only you can see the growth and growth everywhere. So I'm honestly say I have done my MPharm in 2003, 2004, and I did my subject was pharmacognosy at that point of time, and there was very limited number of opportunities. I started my career as a lecturer at that point of time, and started searching how can I diversify myself, and that is where I came into clinical research. I did not stop myself with just thinking in the mind that I have done a pharmacognosy, I have to be restricting only to the pharmacognosy related kind of jobs. No, please remove that kind of mind block, so that you can understand the industry. So if somebody has done an MPharm in regulatory, you can still do better in clinical data management. Okay, if you are not seeing so much of interest in regulatory, you don't need to go to regulatory. You have completed your MPharm, you can still do the job in clinical data management or pharmacovigilance for that case. Because the reason why I'm mentioning this is one thing I've seen in the trend in the students that I have done for MPharm pharmacology. Yeah, my aim should be only in pharmacovigilance. My aim should be only in medical writing. No, guys. So you have to understand first industry, and the growth will come only with your experience and with your domain skills, whichever you are going to choose. Your subject will only end to start or begin your career. Once you begin your career, it is all your performance matters in the organizations. It doesn't matter whether you're pharmacology or pharmacochemistry or pharmaceutics, whatever you are. And it's only the matter how you are dealing the things day in, day out in the industry. Job prospects are good in the CDM with so many technologies coming in. As I was mentioning, Inform and Medidata Rave, they are the massive ones in the industry. They have, it has been used by almost all the pharma companies. Oracle is coming out with different kinds of products, and with the pandemic kind of situation coming in, there are products which are coming out for the patients where to enter the data. So what does it mean? You have more amount of job opportunities because the data collection is now happening from the subject itself. I mean, the patient itself. It's not the clinician anymore. They're called as electronic case report forms. Where the case report form has been filled by the subject itself, right? So if the data are coming from different sources, quite obviously you have a good job prospects. It's not just the data manager now, a data manager only in Inform or Medidata Rave. You have a data manager in clinical trial management systems. You have in site payments, the same data management happening. You see the data management happening in the ePro. There are different technologies within the CDM itself. So huge job prospects, I would say, with the boom of this pandemic and with the boom of technologies coming in, huge amount of requirements coming through. And we have a very good advantage of economy, right? If the job which has been done at $100 in US, it can be done in $10 in India. So that's a big advantage for India. And that's the reason we will always have this job prospects. And CDM is a kind of career, it doesn't go up and down like volatile any point of time, because the data has been collected in different organizations. It's only the management happening here. So no regulator, example, if DCGI puts some kind of restrictions on clinical research in India, it's not going to impact CDM because we are not dealing with the data only with the India, with all other countries. So great job prospects for anyone who is aspiring in CDM. So which are the companies which are offering jobs in India? CDM jobs is Accenture, Cognizant, TCS, IQVIA, Paxil, Syneos, Covance, Icon, PRA, Health Sciences, PPD. I just but top 10 are the known kind of companies which are offering the CDM jobs here. But there are many tier 2 companies are there in India which are where our data managers have been seen the successful careers. Okay. So coming to an question and answers. So I've chosen only a few. There are around 180 questions, but I thought I will address these ones because many of them would have been addressed already while discussing our previous slide. So one of the question was, how do this clinical data management help in the research developing the vaccines for COVID-19? Yeah, as I was mentioning before, our COVID-19 vaccines came in just an year, within an year, right? So in conventional clinical research, this would have been taken at least 5-6 years or more than that. But we are able to develop the vaccines within a year. That's all because of the technologies now came in the clinical data management. I talked about the integrations happened in the technology, the seamless integrations making this happen. And as I was also mentioning, like because of this pandemic, the other side of technology, that is nothing but ePro, which has been utilized directly from the patients, now it is booming up. So this particular industry is going to develop in the way the patients, the way the investigators have been required. That's a kind of industry CDM is. How do we collect the data during quarantine? As I mentioned, many organizations, that is the tier 1 pharma companies, they have come out with a new technologies, that is ePro, where the patient can submit the data by mobiles itself. They don't need to go to the visit. They don't need to visit the clinical site to provide the data. So that's a new innovation, I would say the latest trend from past 2 years. So another question, this and most of them are asked, B-Pharm, M-Pharm, Pharm D, right background to choose CDM. As I mentioned, yes, Pharm D, B-Pharm, M-Pharm, yeah, this is, if somebody has been aspiring in clinical data management, a really good industry, because you are coming from pharma background, you can do better than anyone else because your way of thinking and maturity levels are much more higher compared to any of the other science backgrounds. So it's a very good kind of field, and it's a technical kind of role, say semi-technical. You have your pharma knowledge, you are going to use that pharma knowledge in building the databases. You are using that pharma knowledge in order to analyze the data using the different technologies. So it is not just and pharmacology data or something you are reviewing. You are reviewing the data in multiple ways from the multiple regions. And to have a right, if you ask me who is the best person to do the clinical data management job, of course, it will be the pharmacists who can do the best job. And who can do, whether B-Pharm or M-Pharm or Pharm D, I would say no distinction. I would say here B-Pharm compared to M-Pharm, they have maybe a little lesser maturity compared to M-Pharm or Pharm D. Maybe if somebody is good enough in B-Pharm and can comprehend the requirements of the regulatories and the understandings of the data management, still B-Pharm can be worked out. I have seen even in my team, there are people who have joined our organization just with B-Pharm itself. And M-Pharm, Pharm D, with the maturity level, they can do far better and they can understand the things better. And they can, and of course, there will be a different levels which will be given if somebody is coming from B-Pharm and M-Pharm, there'll be level differentiation as well. So any of these education background, you can enter into CDM. And very importantly, there is no specialization requirement here. This is not only for just CDM. Let me break this ice. This is for entire clinical research industry. if you are for, if it is for medical writing, if it's for pharmacovigilance. With my personal experience, what I'm saying is there is no such kind of distinctions, right, guys? So don't keep your mind restricting that I have done a regulatory in MPharm, I've done industry pharmacy in MPharm. Can I start the CDM? Of course, anyone can do the CDM kind of work. Okay. So role of MEDRA in CDM, this is one of the question has been asked. Yeah, MEDRA is in dictionary, which has been used in medical coding. So what is the use of MEDRA is classifying the adverse events and medical history. What happens, the investigators reports the adverse events and medical history that needs to be classified in a format where we can retrieve and analyze that data. So we use the terminologies in the dictionary of MEDRA, and we will classify them. So that's an importance of MEDRA, and of course it's a big topic, but I'm simplifying that to an extent where anyone can understand here. It's just a classification of what has been reported by the clinicians in the clinical database. And of course, this is a key for analysis, because if you don't classify them, you cannot analyze them, you cannot group them, right? So that is where MEDRA plays importance. So there was another question, what CDM offers to MBA professionals? Yeah, very good question. Of course, over a period of time, anybody in the industry, they will grow up and they become team leaders, they become team managers. Of course, if somebody is having an MBA kind of background, they can do they will have a better management skills compared to anyone. So that is one place MBA people can deliver. But of course, to enter into this industry, you should be from life science background. You cannot do an BCom and MBA and you can enter. No, you can't do that. If somebody is coming from pharma background and doing the MBA along with that, yeah, at some point of time it is going to be used. But if you ask me honestly, MBA will not be considered while hiring, but it will make the difference when you grow up. And also, if somebody want to look into the business analysis side, so what happens over a period of time, somebody is having 10 years of experience in clinical data management, they start looking the industry in a different way, and the organization wants what is happening in the industry. Example, if my organization asks me, they give example, ePro, Prathap, can you go and help us how the ePro is been utilized in the present industry practice? That is where my business skill will come into picture. I need to go into different organization, understand what they are offering. I mean, the metadata array, Oracle, different technologies, and I need to create an information where my organization can understand what is happening in that particular space. That is where the place where even MBA professionals can do better. What qualities that clinical data manager should possess to be effective? See, honestly, if you ask me, anybody, whether it's a data manager or any other person, integrity is the most important thing. So if you all starting your career, so start building a good rapport with your colleagues, very importantly. Don't compete with each other. Everybody is running their own race. Okay, so you don't need to compete with each other. Rather, learn as much as possible. This is the ocean. You have oceans of opportunities. You don't need to compete each other. So collaborative skills is the most important thing in the clinical data manager, because as I mentioned, you need to work with multiple people within the team and outside the team, right? So you should have a good collaborative skills. That is a number one thing which the clinical data manager should possess. Okay, what kind of software? I already mentioned the softwares we have been using is like INTIENT, that is from Oracle, and metadata array. These are the data collection softwares. data analysis software. So we have SAS, so a statistical analysis system. So SAS is one of the system where it's been used to submit the data sets for the regulatory authorities. So these are the softwares been used in CDM now. And of course, as I mentioned, different technologies are coming in, like data collection at different sites in different way, like ECG data. Now it has been reported in a different fashion rather 10 years before. So every software, every domain is getting improvised, and better technologies are coming up day by day. So these are the some of the interesting questions which I came through the list. So Manoj, over to you if there are anything more which I can address.
Prathap, please share. Stop sharing your screen.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go.
My audio is clear, no?
Yeah, it's good, Manoj.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prathap, for this excellent session. Indeed, it was a complete overview of how the entire process of clinical data management works. I'm sure it was an insightful session for many pharmacy professionals who have joined us today. The journey for past and present data collection and shift of data manager to data scientist was very thought-provoking and interesting. Second. Is my audio clear?
Yes, very much.
Okay, fine. So the journey of past and present data collection and shift of data manager to data scientist was very thought-provoking and interesting. I'm sure it would excite many pharmacy professionals to explore various opportunities in clinical data management. And for sure, this automation and technology, that is there to help us and aid the existing roles and not, take away the job from us, right? So exactly. Now this session is open for questions. If you have, whoever is present, I mean, we have around 89 people, 90 people present now watching us. So just in case you have any questions, you can just unmute yourself and ask the questions. And also you can put the questions in the sheet that I had shared already, the link. Anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask, or raise the hand so that I can call out your names so that you can ask the questions. Okay, so in case you're not asking, somebody have already, some of you have already shared your, okay. Nawaf, you have a question?
Hi, sir. I would like to ask that, I am audible, Ms. Manoj, sir?
Yeah, Somjit, yes, please. Go on.
Yeah, I would like to ask that there are many pharmacy professionals who are into the career of sales and marketing, and they also wish to come into clinical data management or regulatory affairs, the field which are more into technical terms with pharmacy. So is there any way possible for candidates like them to be into CDM?
Yeah, Somjit, thanks for asking that question. So this industry is open for all, first of all. So okay, let me look in this direction. So if somebody comes to me and comes for me in an interview, and he's from XYZ background, like marketing or anything, honestly, if you ask me, we don't look what kind of background he is coming from. Instead, we look what kind of skill set he's bringing to us and how we can do better with that skill sets. That's what we are going to see. So quite obvious, like if it's a marketing kind of roles, they will have a good kind of communication skills. In some of the data management roles, I was talking about site payments and clinical trial management systems. Those kind of roles where require extensive communication with the clients, and even project management roles within the data management, they require extensive communication skills. Definitely, if somebody is coming from that background, they will have that kind of advantage, and they can definitely be in the limelight within the team because of the better communication skills and better presentation skills what they are going to have. And this market is open for everyone, Somjit.
So thank you, Prathap, for that. There is another question by Swati. She says, what are the company which offer clinical data management jobs, and is there any current openings in those companies?
Yeah, openings, yes, as I was mentioning, yeah, I already shared that particular list of top 10 companies. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, openings, what I would say is, you see in this social media world, how you will get the openings. One is you will have then different kinds of WhatsApp groups, and you have in LinkedIn groups. So that is where you have to get connected, guys. So that is where you will get the information about this. The age-old process is gone. You are going to a company website, I'm uploading the resume. No, it will be lost in emotion.
Yes,
so I would say get into this kind of connections. You maybe you are senior or super senior, somebody is working in that particular organization. Ask them, be in their touch and get the right job in. So I would say that's a better way. And of course, if you can upload into the database of organization, yeah, definitely it will be considered. I'm not eliminating that option, but you have shortcuts with the help of the social media. So that is where you have to look into in this aspect.
Thank you for that, Prathap.
And I will tell you one thing. So at any point of time, if you ask me in Accenture, even now there are like 200 different openings.
Wow.
And even there, but many times it will be not open for the freshers. So that might be one of the challenging things, because we will go for the replacement, or the client expectation is to get the people who can deliver on the day one. So, but there are processes where we are actually hiring even freshers. So that's there, but you have to have a track with the right people, with the right connect.
Yes, yes. So there is another question from Kirtana. She says, is it true that B.Pharm alone is not enough for career growth? Going for the master's is the best choice as per majority in this particular field, especially. What do you say?
What I would say is the minimum requirement is graduation for whether it is pharmacovigilance or or data management or anything for that case. But when we interview the people with the level of B.Pharm, we can easily analyze their maturity level. So we saw far more maturity and far more better candidates when we see at the M.Pharm level. So that is one of the reasons when we choose the people we choose with the M.Pharm, because of their maturity level. And yeah, but if somebody is really doing good, we have even in my team there are people who have got the job with B.Pharm background itself. And as I was mentioning before, there will be a salary difference and the level difference for the graduates and postgraduates. That is another point to make out. But what I want to say here is it is not a block. If you are not able to, if you are not done in M.Pharm, no, I cannot enter. No, it's not the right thing. But you should have the right skill set to crack the interviews, because there will be a written round, there will be a group discussion. That is where your maturity will come out, right?
Okay. So there is another question from Sreshta. What is the starting salary in CDM?
Okay, guys, let me tell you one thing. When I started my career and when I gave the interview, this is my personal I'm talking about, I did not even ask the salary. The reason for that is when you evaluate the profession in terms of what is the salary which has been given in the beginning, you may not doing the right thing, because when XYZ company for XYZ domain, they may give you 30,000 in the beginning, but that 30,000 will not grow. Instead, there is an XYZ company and his starting salary is 15, 18, 20,000. And if you see the future perspective for that particular domain is very good, that is where I will also choose, right? So don't go behind the salary, guys. Go behind the knowledge, go behind the right domain. that is where your growth will come into picture. And don't look at the short terms. Okay, it is like see, always, even in the share market, this is there. If you are a long-term investor, your risk is less and your growth is more. If you are a short-term investor, your risk is more and also your returns are also less. I've seen people changing their jobs like within a decade, like 7, 8 different companies, and they have been exhausted all the companies by the end of 7 years, 10 years. So because of the salary and what they are getting, it's not at par of the same person who is staying in the same organization versus 7 different companies. Because all these organizations, I will tell you the basic funda, all these organizations, they will have the industry analysis, and they will do industry analysis every 2 years. So based on the industry analysis, their salary bracket will be matched. So somebody is getting 20,000 now. After an industry analysis, that market correction will take him to 22,000 to the market level. So you don't need to worry. So most of the organizations are open and they will be doing all these kind of exercises at right point of time, because every organization to retain people is one of the motto. If they are not being given at the salary at the right level, you may not retain the people, right? So they'll be doing those analysis. You don't need to worry about that. Rather, think on the domain skills which you need to learn.
Correct. Very excellently explained, Prathap. Thank you. So, Syed, you have raised your hand. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you for giving this opportunity. First of all, thank you so much for this interactive session. So it was really interesting. Sir, I have a question for you. That is, we have seen like a tremendous growth in the past, from the past decade, like the use of automation technologies, the use of artificial intelligence, the use of different kinds of software programs and all. So in the long run, like if we are deciding to go with this career of clinical data management, what would be our growth potential as a clinical data manager? Like you told, maybe tomorrow you can take up maybe something related to quality assurance or quality control. How are the what is the growth potential for a clinical data manager, like in the long run, after 5 years, 10 years? What would be, like, I know like organizational skills matter, leadership skills matter, but apart from that, what are the different roles that a clinical data manager plays apart from just entering data and understanding the data and interpreting different data sets?
Good. Thanks for asking that question, Syed. Very valid. I think there may be same kind of questions in many people's mind. Okay, let me address in this way. So first of all, there are new technologies coming in. Yes, good. But what they are also bringing is different kind of opportunities for us to do the work, right? If the new software has come into picture, example, Medidata Rev, it has got, if somebody need to work in the Medidata Rev, he should have a kind of skill set, where a different kind of skill set than Oracle Clinical. So different technologies are bringing different opportunities. Let us see in that direction. Second thing, if we are saying an artificial intelligence is coming into picture, it is taking our job. No, it is not taking away our job, rather making our job more from transactional to what do you say? Instead of doing just a transactional, it is an judgment-based jobs. So, which is most important. We don't want to do the transactional one. We don't want to be an ATM machine. The clerk is it has been replaced by ATM machine, right? So that has been done now. Now, what we are doing, the same clerk is analyzing the entire data of the same ATM. What is happening in the backend? In the same way, the data manager with over a period of time, he can understand and he can improve his data management skills over a period of time by doing some certifications, like CCDM is one of the certification given by the SCDM. So if you do that, it has got its own market standard. And of course, you will understand the entire ocean of clinical data management. So as you grow up, what I would suggest is learn all the sides. You learn the entire side of data management, how the data is coming in, how the data is going out, what are the different technologies associated with that, and whether any kind of and complementing kind of technology will help us. Like example, Power BI. Power BI is one of the new tool available where you can do an analysis in very easier way compared to the Excel or anything, right? Power BI is one of the technology, and you can learn through YouTube. And if you are developing that skill within your organization after 5 years, yeah, definitely you will be the one of the person will be chosen for the data analyst rather than just doing a data manager role. And after 5 years or 6 years, I would say, Syed, within the organization, there will be always chances of diversifying ourselves. If you see me, I started my career as a medical coder. I became a data manager later. I learned study build. I'm a certified study builder. Then I also been part of cosmetovigilance. I learned the safety aspects of it. Then I'm into CTMS management now. I learned and I'm still learning the different aspects of working with the budgets, with the sites. So over a period of time, even organizations will keep giving the opportunities once you keep performing and delivering the things. So bottom line of the story, if you do the things, what is been given for you better, definitely you will have a better perspectives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one more thing is constant learning is what we need. If you see the last 2 years, if you observe the last 2 years development, probably, that kind of digitalization that has happened is beyond what could have happened in 10 or 15 years time, right? So only 23-24% of the pharmaceuticals, were digitalized pre-COVID era. And during COVID era, we have more than 60% of them got digitalized. So that is the kind, so within a year's time, right? So there is always a constant change, but we need to continuously upgrade our knowledge and skills to get into the fields. Okay, thank you. So there is another question. This question is again similar to what he has asked. If artificial intelligence takes over medical coding, what about medical coding employees? So this already we have answered.
Yeah.
So there is another question, which is from George. He says, what is the future of CDM job in abroad after a few years of experience in India?
Yeah, so many of my colleagues who started their career, they over a period of time, they have been grown into an individual contributor. So what happens in the US and UK example, these are the places where we see the huge number of job openings there. So example, Novartis is an organization here and you are a protocol data manager. So the role of protocol data manager will come to you only after a decade of experience. And again, how much you have diversified within the data management. So when you are at that level where you can understand the protocol and you can understand the designing aspects of it, and if you are understanding the outcomes of the protocol, that is where you will get the on-site opportunities, because those kind of roles where the decision making kind of roles will be offered in the on-site like UK and US place. And at this point of time, what I would say is with pandemic coming into picture and more of the technology improvements, the on-site opportunities honestly is going down, because if the things can be done at the lower cost within India, why the company should offer or afford the people in the onshore, right? At the end, they are making the drug coming out at lower price. It should be cost effective. So even the onshore, whatever the capabilities are there, has been learned by India. If you see, like 15 years before, there was no protocol data manager in India, because as I mentioned, the protocol data manager role itself, it requires at least of 10 years of experience. Nobody was there. And that skill set was lying in onshore. And now we have hundreds and thousands of people who have that skill set. So if that work has been done here, they definitely give the work here rather getting it done there. But still, there are opportunities like getting into some kind of trainings or being on site for getting the transition. If any study is getting transitioned from one organization to another organization, or if there is an agglomeration of an organization, then you have to get the the change management to happen. So that is where even the data managers will come into picture, and they be in the on-site and they help this change management happen as well. So opportunities are there only after having a right amount of experience and with the right skill set. Not everybody can be there in onshore. I would just tell in that way.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you for that. So there is another question from Poonam. She asks, can I switch from regulatory affairs to CDM?
So again, guys, every profession has got a bright future if you master it. Okay. So regulatory affairs, great domain. You have a great perspectives with a number of regulations coming into picture, different kind of regulations been implemented day in, day out. So, and those requirements are changing in different geographies. So that has got its it has got its own kind of future in it. So if you are passionate, like you are feeling like this is something I'm not being, or I'm doing the wrong thing, so then I would say you need to change. Otherwise, if you are just for the sake of salary, or just for the sake of changing the domain to see how this is good, this is what happens in the people. So I would say, please don't do that, because every domain will only be fruitful if you are mastering it. Without mastering, no domain will help you guys.
True, true. So there is another question from Priya from YouTube. She says, is there any preliminary training or course required to join CDM job, or any fresher can join and will be trained in-house?
Okay, very good question, Priya. Thanks for asking. So yeah, this has got two sides, guys. One, yeah, there are students who are spending thousands of rupees doing some kind of certification, and they offer or they promise a job or anything. Yeah, maybe or may not be possible. Again, I'm not going to comment on that. At the same point of time, there are people who are been getting through this kind of role, are getting hired easily. So I would say for the clinical data management, if you are a fresher and if you are looking through getting in, aspiring for a clinical data management, you have a lot of material in the YouTube now. You have a lot of material in the LinkedIn itself, rather getting into that kind of trainings. And of course, if you are answering well in terms of data management in the interview, and you are the preferred choice compared to the person who is not answering those questions. And also, most of the organizations, they will be having the screening test, and in the screening test, definitely some basic kind of questions will be asked, which is related to clinical research. So understanding of those concepts will become more important, and you will have a better chances of cracking that interview.
True. Yeah. So the next question is from Nawaf. I have 2 years of clinical research experience as CRC. I have tried CDM job in 10 companies, which you have mentioned today, but I didn't receive any reply.
Yeah, Nawaz, very disappointing. Yeah, so sometimes it happens. You believe me, I will tell my own story. See, I started my career as a lecturer in JSS College of Pharmacy a long time back, and I was there for almost 2 years. Then I decided, yeah, I have to move on to clinical research. So I spent almost 6 to 7 months to get one interview. And I think at least I used to contact 10 different people every day in order to get through the job. So sometimes it happens. We should have patience. Keep your hope. Yeah. And what I would say is, if you are seeing some kind of difficulty in screening kind of questions, yeah, maybe that is one of the reasons. If you are not able to go through the first phase. Look at your answers, like what was the questions asked and what kind of answering you've been done. And always think one more side of interviewer. It is not the question asked. We look into behavior and attitude when you answer that question. So many aspects. We don't see a candidate as a candidate. We look into his behavior. You may think in 15 minutes what you can assess. Guys, we can assess. We are people managers, like I'm managing 100+ people now. So we can understand, we can read the minds, okay? So there are many aspects, Vijay. One is the domain skill, one is the attitude, behavior, collaborative kind of questions will be asked. So probably if you see now of at what level you have been getting failed, and maybe whether it is a group discussion round, or it's a preliminary screening round, or it's an interview round, or HR discussion. So that is where you need to work.
Sir, hello.
Yeah, Nawaf.
Sir, sir, I didn't got interview call. That's what I mentioned there. So I couldn't able to complete that question which I wrote written. So I have this protocol design and essential data, SDTM, all experience I have listed in the CV. And whenever the vacancy is showing in the LinkedIn, I am sending this through the LinkedIn or else through the mail ID to HR.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they are not shortlisting. So is there any reason we should have this kind of courses, CDM courses, or something like that? Is there, or we want to change our CV according to the CD job?
Yeah, good point. Now, if I was about to tell you, make your CV. You mentioned the right skills. Actually, if somebody is coming at the fresher level with these skill sets, he will be the person most preferred. Okay, probably there might be one thing is the CV need to be relooked, make it more exhaustive, put the right things in there, and use your channels like you have LinkedIn, very good social medias, connect there, and if you have any referrals, yeah, that is where most of the things. This is again, and most of the time when we hire people, if it's a referral, it will be more easier for us because we get more insights about that person rather we are hiring directly from somewhere, right? So try to get the contacts so that you are applying through the referral. It has got a lot of weightage compared to if you are applying through LinkedIn, because as I told you, if you apply on the job portals and in the LinkedIn or in the company portals, it may get lost. So that might be one of the reasons, but please relook into your CV. That might be helping you.
Yeah, so I would like to add a point in this, Prathap. See, what happens normally is, especially with our pharmacy professionals, when they come across a job, they just keep sending the same resume or their CV to all across the same job profiles.
Yeah.
Right, which is one of the biggest mistakes, right? They do not modify the job, CV as per the job description which has been mentioned.
Right.
So they miss out a lot of keywords which the recruiter is looking for and the companies are looking for, and that is why somehow most of the CVs do not get screened and most of the CVs do not get through. Right, so please add the important points as per the job description which the company is looking for. Modify your CV, keep a master CV that is your base CV, and whenever a job opportunity comes in right to you, take that CV and modify according to the job description, then send that CV to the customer, the recruiter. I think that helps, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you would like to add something to that?
Yeah, you mentioned the right points. Don't make it as a generic CV and just keep forwarding. Yeah, that's the right point. Yeah, you should actually customize it as per the requirement.
Yeah.
So there's many things. Sorry, Manoj. I was saying. See, many times with the clinical research coordinators, the CRC experience, what you have. So many times we look at such kind of professional. It's only the connect should happen at the right point of time. Maybe Nawaf is Better luck, Nawaf. It will be okay. Don't worry.
Nawaf, if you are here, you can connect with me and we'll see how we can improve your CV and get your job. Okay. So next question is from Nagarjuna. He says, impact of artificial intelligence on fresher jobs. See, already freshers are not getting the jobs they're looking for. And this artificial intelligence is again there to impact that. So what is it that they can do?
Oh no, guys, please don't mess up with this kind of thing. See, always pharma jobs are more judgmental. So the impact of technologies coming through, it will be an impact, but it will not eliminate the role. So if it is a medical coding or CDM, so what happens is, see, number of trials getting registered. Let me give you an insight. So in 2020, there are 10,000 trials got registered in the US and Europe Union. I'm just taking US and Europe Union only. 10,000 trials. So day by day, we are seeing the number of trials getting increased. So quite obviously, whatever the technology is coming in, will still need a people to manage the things. So it is not going to take away, but it is taking away the lag or the gap which we were seeing, right? So a very good example was COVID vaccine. If we would have not having these kind of technologies at this point of time, we would have not seen the vaccines coming out, because you have so many departments to integrate or collaborate together, which might not have been possible at all for us to come with a vaccine by this time. And my own team and my other team actually supported some of the clinical research things in this COVID times for the vaccines. And we saw how much technology was supporting us. So don't worry, see, these jobs will not go anywhere, but these jobs will get better, I would say. That's what these technologies will help to.
True. So there are many questions, but I'll take a few more with your permission, Prathap. We are already, we have overshot the time.
Yeah,
if you're okay,
sure,
we'll take, yeah. Okay, so there is one question from Siddharth. He says, does doing certificate course in SPSS, SAS or Oracle Clinical help a pharma graduate to land in a biostatistics or data analysis job in a company? Will it be fruitful to land in this role over a clinical data manager role?
Yeah, SAS is a very good profile. Yeah, of course, we have seen the people growing in and a lot of opportunities within that space. Only thing is, if somebody is coming from the statistics background, the way he applies his knowledge on SAS will be different versus pharma background person learning the SAS. You can learn the tool, but you cannot apply that statistic knowledge over there. Okay, so you can still see there are two different kind of companies. Okay, one tier 1 companies, they have all set kind of SAS macros available. You just need a person to take the macro, click on it, run it, and then you get the data set. So you just need a SAS programmer there. You don't need to have a domain skills, but somebody need to develop. Example, there are tier 2 companies or tier 3 companies, they will not have this kind of standard queries, SAS queries, where they have to build for each one of them. That is where the real statistics knowledge will come into picture. Yeah, definitely that is a place somebody can learn something in the SAS. So yeah, but one, I would say the drawback is there. See, the technologies, if our domain skills are dependent on technology, it is always some point of time it will be a dead end, because you already see the R is another software. It's a software taking over the SAS. There are regulatory agencies which are accepting the data sets out of R, right? So tomorrow Python can come into picture, because Python is doing much more better than R and SAS. So yes, you have at this point of time, if you ask me, if you're doing a SAS certification, don't do just a base SAS, do the advanced SAS. Base SAS is something everybody in the market, if you ask me 100 people, I would say 15 people would have done the base SAS, no value for that. If you do the advanced SAS, if you crack that advanced SAS, then you apply for the SAS programming kind of roles, yeah, you will have definitely a good career over there.
Thank you, Prathap, for that. And I'll take two more questions, last two questions. One is from Janardhan. He says, where do you see the future of site payments industry of clinical research?
So site payments is an upcoming field. Yeah. So there are many other technologies being built in this particular space. See, and there are numerous opportunities over there, because this is one of the place where to keep sites happy. If the sites have been paid on time, so they are happy. If example, you have done some kind of work, and if you are not got paid on the right time, you are not going to do the same work next time, because you are not going to get paid at the right time, right? So if the technology is helping you to do that, if you are getting the payment at the right point of time, so quite obviously the site is happy, and you will tell, yeah, you bring next ready, I'll get the recruitment of the subjects, right? So it is indirectly keeping the site investigators happy with the improvement of this technology. And this is one of the recent success stories in the clinical world, because 90% of the sites will go through the financial stress. So if there is a financial stress, it is an impact on clinicians, it's an impact on research itself. So if this barrier has been broken with the technologies coming out for site payments, quite obviously you can see the better world of clinical research. So huge opportunity, and many companies are coming through, because it's not only one or two companies available in the market. Many companies are coming with this product, and they're integrating with different systems, so that this is another space we can see that growth and career happening. Very, I would say, green at this point of time, green to dark green.
Yeah, correct. Thank you so much, Prathap. So this is the last question I'm taking, but for all those people who have asked the questions and we have not answered, please don't worry. We shall answer these questions in the subsequent posts, or I shall be replying those questions answers to you separately. Okay, so this is the last question, Prathap, for you. And this is from Aarti. She says, is a fresher pharmacy postgraduate eligible for CDM jobs, or they should not undergo any special training? And there is another question added to that is, what are the skill sets needed for freshers to apply for CDM job?
Okay, so Aarti, I mentioned this particular thing. So first of all, if you are going to an interview, get prepared for what kind of role you are going to, what you are going to face with, right? So if you are going to a pharmacovigilance kind of role, the expectation in the interview is that like you should answer those questions which is relevant to pharmacovigilance. And we don't bother whether you are having a certification or not. It doesn't matter. If for me, if I'm an interviewer, if you are answering the right answers for the questions has been asked, whether it's a CDM domain or a pharmacovigilance domain or medical writing, regulatory, whatever it is, if you are prepared, that shows the interest. That's the first thing we see. If somebody coming there and not even able to answer the basic questions of that particular domain, we will not choose them, because that shows their interest, right? So I would say don't spend money on certifications, honestly, but you will get a lot of knowledge. But the other side is certification. Certifications from the CDM or some other non-profit organization is good. But if you are going with the money-making kind of organizations, yeah, you will get the knowledge, but you have to spend a lot of money, where the same knowledge you can gain in the social media today. You have YouTube, you have LinkedIn groups which can help you. So I would say, if I am the person who is a fresher, want to get into any kind of role, I will choose this option versus getting any kind of certification, spending money. I hope I answered.
Yeah, yes, Prathap, definitely. So there are many more questions. Guys, if you have any live questions you want to ask, please unmute yourself and ask. Otherwise, we'll close the session. Anybody wants to ask anything?
Good evening, sir. I'm Vidya Sagar Singh from graduate. Sir, I have one question. If I'm working in PB, in future I can change my domain in CDM or SaaS programmer like that. They will consider my experience in that domain or not?
Vidyasagar, first of all, I will ask you a question. Why do you want to change the profession of PV? Right?
Suppose that if I'm not interested in that.
Then if you are not interested, why did you join?
No. First, I want to learn. If it is good, then I will continue in future.
No, Vidyasagar, first of all, your approach is wrong. See, what I would suggest is,
that's why, sir. Sorry for interrupt. That's why I have doubt. That's why I asked you. Okay, please help me.
Sure, Vidyasagar. So the first thing, what I would say is, if you are not in, so you know that at this point of time, you know every industry at this point of time. You don't need to get into a job and understand, right? What is the future perspective? How does it work? And all those things are there in the social media, and you can understand there itself. And I would say, once you join any kind of role, whether it is PV or CDM or anything, please stick to that, because over a period of time, you gain the knowledge and you will grow there itself. You should have patience. Sometimes, this is what happens. Sometimes somebody is not getting promoted and I want to change the profession. No, that's not the way to look at the things. You have to change the profession only if you are not learning anything. You have been stopped of learning. You are not getting any kind of insights. So you are done with everything. So pharmacovigilance and CDM kind of professions, I would say, even if you are been in this particular domain for 10 years, you have something to learn, right? So I would say, please continue with the same kind of profession, whatever you choose, because each one of them is good. If you are mastering it. If you are not mastering it, none of this will give you good results or good growth. This is what I would say in simple words, Vidyasagar.
Absolutely, Prathap. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Prathap. Thank you, everyone. Still we have 60 people watching via YouTube and Zoom. That's 2 hours plus, and still we have 60 more people. That's really great. As rightly said by you, Prathap, every job has a great future only if you master it. And we as pharmacy professionals, unless trying to see the goodness in other jobs, we should try to see what great things can be achieved in our current role and portfolio, and try to keep learning and improving our responsibilities and jobs, right? So master the right skills and leave your impression in CDM. With this note, I would like to thank Prathap for his insightful session. Thank you so much, Prathap. This session would not have been possible without our lovely audience. Thank you all. Thank you so much. So every Saturday we'll keep organizing this kind of sessions. Next Saturday we have career opportunities in community pharmacy. So do join us. I'll be sharing the details of that very soon in my groups and my LinkedIn as well. Do connect with Prathap and myself on LinkedIn, and we'll try to explore what best we can do for each other together. Together we'll definitely be able to make great difference. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Prathap, any last note you want to say? I will close the session.
Yeah, sure, Manoj. Yeah, this is one of the most liked session, I would say, because I want people here are the budding stars. If we guide them in a right way, they understand the industry, they understand the things in a better fashion, rather of incomplete understanding. So it was a great privilege to connect with our budding stars. Guys, I would wish you all the very best for your future. It was a nice session to connect with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Prathap.